let's go through the day's events, how they unfolded, what we know, what we don't know, and maybe what we can expect to find out over the next couple of days. Just want to make it really clear again at the start of the stream, because I've seen some of the comments from the earlier on video. People love to blame me on these things. I've been very, very honest throughout this entire process and say, I don't know what's going on. I'm the same as everybody else. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't have any inside information on this manager search. I've been honest about that from day one. But based off what we were reading and seeing and other journalists, and I say other, not to talk about myself, but I mean on top of Ornstein and Romano, have been saying he's the front runner. Have been saying he's the most likely one. So I'm as confused as everybody as to how we ended up here today. I said it a week ago that Ruben wouldn't work with second choice players or our analysts to identify targets. I suspect this is why it fell apart. Let me just start with that part then, Danny, the falling apart part. I don't think it has necessarily fallen apart yet. Let's go through the time frame of what we found out today. So the first bit of news that I seen was David Ornstein, who said West Ham are in talks over an ambitious move for Ruben Amorim if David Moyes goes. Then he goes on to say Julian Lopetegui also assessed, but Amorim is the current top target. So fair enough, you're thinking, okay, maybe we've got some competition here for Ruben Amorim. West Ham looking to move to get him in if they get rid of David Moyes, which they must be doing or they wouldn't be starting to shop around for managers. But he goes on, and this is the line that many people are confused about. I was reading through the Athletic comment section, loads of the similar type comments, just what? All we get is one line and then nothing. No context, because everybody's been talking about him being the favourite, including Ornstein, including Romano for a while. Just one line here is all we're going to get. And that line was, Liverpool looks unlikely. That's it. He said, Amorim's current top target for West Ham United, said to appeal but unclear where they sit among the 39-year-old's options. And then he said Liverpool looks unlikely. And that's all we get. No more context, no more anything. It's like everybody has to admit that they were all just guessing, because nobody seems to have a clue. But that doesn't stop there. Fabrizio Romano was then posted to say Ruben Amorim and Liverpool never had any agreements done/sealed. Talks took place as candidate on club's list, but it wasn't agreed. West Ham approached Amorim as called by David Ornstein. Nothing done agreed also in this case. Contacts with Liverpool in standby at this stage. I'm genuinely extremely confused. Is Ornstein turning into another Romano talking out of his backside, said Grim Reaper? So, I would never say that Ornstein talks out of his backside, because he's a well-connected man. I think in the reporting on this, there seems to be a lot of change of direction from top journalists who won't admit that they were all pushing the Amorim most likely tag. And they were. That's what leaves me very confused about this. You know, Ornstein, Romano, many others, and you can find any amount of journalists who were talking about Amorim being the front runner for the Liverpool job. Nobody outside of maybe Pedro Sepulveda said that it was getting close to being done, but even he said that there was still work to be done on those negotiations. So Ben Jacobs, he's been tweeting and he said, for Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, April will be about conducting interviews with multiple candidates. The pair are not afraid to make a bold appointment. Now, a couple of people, I think Jamie Carragher included here, feel that Richard Hughes very much likes Roberto De Zerbi, and maybe Roberto De Zerbi is going to be a candidate here. I don't know. How would we feel about it? Maybe we should get a poll going here, actually. And then there's another one from LFC Transfer Room that quote Graham Bailey saying, West Ham owner David Sullivan has been told that Ruben Amorim would accept the head coach job at the club if he was offered it. So, look, there's been a bit of confusion here today as well, because some people believe that Ruben Amorim, who is on his way to London, he's probably already here at this point, or there at that point, I should say, that he's going to have a conversation with Liverpool as well. But others were at pains to show that it was West Ham who ferried the private plane. And I do have images of of Ruben Amorim and his agent about to board a small private jet to head for London. Now, Liverpool, of course, have an office in London. So I don't know if part of this process for Amorim, who left Sporting Lisbon after training this morning because they have a couple of days off now. So he's jetted off with his agent. And I don't know if Liverpool will be having a conversation with him when he's over. I don't understand it, but one thing we know for certain is that West Ham are the ones who ponied up the money for the jet. Craig, people talking on Twitter that West Ham have offered much higher wages to Amorim than Liverpool. He's flown into London to have a meeting with them. I honestly couldn't speak to the wages. Pranav, I'd have no idea. But Jurgen Klopp was on a fairly hefty wage at Liverpool, so I don't think paying for a top manager would be a problem. But look, truthfully, I just don't know, mate. I'm like everybody else here trying to figure out where on earth we're at. So look, we've got the poll up there on Mourinho, and I'm glad to see that sense is winning here, because so far 70% of you guys have said no to Mourinho as the next Liverpool manager. But there is one question that I'm going to ask after this one, and that question is going to be, do you think there's still a chance for AMORIM? Because I kind of do, but I don't know if I'm deluding myself with that. I think that context of him coming in to have a chat with West Ham and Liverpool in the London offices gave me a little bit of hope. Also, if you add to that what Ben Jacobs said about Liverpool going to be interviewing candidates throughout April, it would make sense that if Ruben Amorim does come over, and West Ham obviously ponied up for that jet, so he's likely to speak to West Ham first, I would certainly hope that Liverpool at least do an interview with Ruben Amorim to see if it's going to be a good fit or not. But since this process has started, it seems like Edwards has always liked the idea of Amorim, but Richard Hughes has always apparently been a De Zerbi fan and looked to bring in De Zerbi when he was at Bournemouth to be their coach. That didn't work out. Obviously, he went to Brighton, but I don't know how I feel about De Zerbi. West Ham flying in Ruben is very worrying, said Finty Tin. From Salah and Diaz to Amorim, too much to ask for someone to say they would love to serve the club. It is weird, right? I don't understand why Amorim, if he takes the West Ham job, and I don't know if he will, it has to be because the Liverpool job isn't forthcoming. There's no way with all due respect to West Ham, there's no way I'd believe that he would, if he had a decision, would choose West Ham over Liverpool. I mean, logically, I just don't see that being the case. But I don't know what's going on right now. So logic seems to have gone out the window today. One thing about Michael Edwards is he is very good at keeping things away from the media. All the articles I read when he was coming back to Liverpool were talking about even his own social media or media presence is minimalist. So there is every possibility that a real surprise comes in to this situation, and somebody who nobody's mentioned or really been spoken about too much. I'm just trying to figure out who the hell that may be. There must be something going on behind the scenes or fundamentally wrong at the running of the club that we can't see if we can't get our top choice and managers are picking West Ham over us. So there's a lot to unpack in that, Owen. One, we don't know that Amorim is the top choice. We don't. We've seen lots of talk about it. I've come round to I love the idea of Amorim. I'd be delighted if he was the coach. We don't know that he's choosing West Ham over us because we don't know if he's had that choice yet. So there's a lot to unpack still, and I know we're all emotional at the minute and trying to react to what's happening. But truth is, there may be a name that these guys have been working towards all along that we just don't know about. I don't have a clue at what point we're at here. But it does seem very, very strange that a lot of the big journalists, and I know the 11.99 merchant there a moment ago wanted to say that Romano and Ornstein have never said anything about it. That's more lies. I can show you many, 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 many posts from both of them that suggest, in fact, I have one, hang on. I have one here, right to hand, just ready to call out your nonsense, mate. Where Romano said, Ruben Amorim remains the main name on Liverpool's manager list as the new head coach. Not the only one, but a concrete option's being considered. Liverpool are informed about the clause in his contract, as reported weeks ago. So, again, if you're going to lie to protect the journalists that you, I don't know, secretly want to have an affair with or something, mate, try and get it right. You know, as I said, happy to be called to account for stuff I've said, but not the stuff that's been said inside your head.